Today we'll discuss about XML, Extensible Markup Language. The XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. Actually, it is a W3C recommendation language. Most probably, this type of language used to describe the data. In this, they will compare with the HTML. But in the case of HTML, everything's in a user-defined. It's not in a user-defined tag. It is a predefined tag. Each and every tag will have some format. The presentation and content will be in the same. It won't be separate. But in the case of XML, we can separate the content and presentation, right? So the XML was used to store or transfer the data. You can exchange the data between the different applications with the help of XML. And most probably, it is a very flexible way to create a information format, and electronically we can share the structured data via public internet as well as in the corporate networks. We can use this one, right? So actually what actually in the XML is in a markup language is based on the standard generalized markup language, and this language is used for defining the markup language, right? SGML. So XML tags are not predefined unlike HTML. XML, in order to make the XML as a proper structured and data, I mean XML document, we need a XML document type definition and XML schema, which this two will define the rules to describe the data. And most probably the XML is in a semi-structured data, right? So mostly in this type of XMLs or World Wide Web consortiums or recommend this language. And a lot of web technologies are there. This is a very important one, because it'll, whenever you want to represent the data in order to make it a standard format to exchange the data between the different type of application in the internet, we will use this type XML, right? So XML, the primary function is to create a format for the data that is used to encode the information for documentation, not only for the documentation, for the database records and transaction and many other types of data. We use this one. Okay, the XML data may be used for creating different content types also. So, for example, if you want to the contents to be included in the web print or mobile content, that everything is based on the XML data only, right? So move to the next slide. So what is HTML means? Before that, what is XML means? Before that, we need to understand about the HTML. So already we know about the HTML means. So what are the HTML? In that we have the same. It is a markup language. It is hypertext markup language. In that we have the n number of elements are there. That each and every elements, tags are already predefined, which is on the content and presentations are merged one. But in the cases of XML, it should be it is actually going to describe the data. Here also we have the elements. Here the elements we always call as a tags. It is a primary component of XML document. So elements are the primary components of XML document. So here I just given the example. Just like HTML tag, we have a start and end tag here, author, and start tag and end tag is author, which is followed by the forward slash. So in author we have that attributes and values. Here the attribute name is ID and value is 123. So usually you need to follow some rules in the XML because in an extensible markup language, we have to strictly we need to follow the rules. So for example, if you need to start with the start tag with some cases, for example, here we start with the upper cases. We also end the tag of a particular author in the upper cases only. So, but usually we follow the rules. The lower cases will start usually start. Usually we'll start the tag, start tag, and end tag will always in the lower case, right? Here the element author with attribute as ID, and in that author element we have the two more element which is nested inside the author. Okay, the element first element is F name. There is an element which have the text node, James, I mean, for example, if you create any table, we have that field name, but each and every the rows of an instance of each and every name will be, I mean, the name field will have the different tables will be there. The same like that in the here the f name elements we have the text node. I mean, this f name contain the information which is James. So just like that, L name we have the text node which is Russell, right? These two are the child elements for the author, right? The author is an apparent element for these two elements. So the F name and L name is a the relationship is sibling. It is in a sibling node. Here the attribute is an ID which provide additional information about the author element, right? The value of attributes are set inside the element. The value of the attributes always start with the, I mean, will close with the enclose with the single quotes or double quotes. So even in the XML document also, in order to understand the XML document by the developers or some other persons who are reading that XML document means they need to know something about what is happening in this particular document. They can also use commands. It will start with the last, I mean, the less than exclamated hyphen and end with the hyphen and greater than symbol, right? I mean, so move to the next slide. What is actually the XML is used for? It is a very primary function. I mean, XML is provided in a simple text-based format for representing the structured information. So, according to the W3C, they given the proper definition for the XML. It is in a simple text-based format for representing the structured information. So, in order to represent, I mean, in order to create an XML document, first we need to start with the XML declaration. So the syntax for the XML declaration is less than question mark, XML name and the version attribute followed by the values. The name equal to value pair, name value pair will always start with the attribute name equal to value. The value is version number here. And in the XML declaration, we have the three attributes are there. One is version, another one is the encoding, another one is the standalone. It is a proper syntax for the XML declaration. What is XML declaration? It is a pre-processing instruction that contain the details that prepare an XML processor to pass the XML document. And most probably this one is an optional one, but when used, it must be appear the first line of the XML document. Try to understand. Whenever you want to create an XML document, this particular line should be in very beginning of the first line. So if you want to add this, it should be in the first line. It is an optional one. Even without this particular XML declaration also, we can create an XML document, right? Move to the next slide. So XML actually it enables the sharing of the structured information among the programs and programmers and programs and peoples and locally and across the networks. So here is an example which is for declaration purpose, XML declaration. So even XML can be declared with without parameters, and we can declare the XML with version, and we can declare the XML with all the parameters. What is that? Version, encoding, and standalone. Say for example, here given I just given the version as 1.0. Either we can use a single quote or double quotes to I mean in order to mean the mention the value with the single quotes or double quotes of the attribute values. For encoding, I just mentioned the UTF-8 is the encoding standard. We are just following this one, and standalone I just mentioned as a new. So this is what an sample examples for the XML declaration. Move to the next slide. So what W3C is define the XML standard and it recommended use for the web content. While XML and HTML are both are based on HTML, I mean HTML platform. But in the W3 is also define the XHTML and XHTML5 document format. But I'm just going to talk about only the XML. How does the XML works? Before creating an XML document, we need to follow some rules, right? So this is all the rules. First, we need to mention the XML declaration should be in the first line, and second is it must have that particular declaration should have must contain the version number of the attribute of 1.0, The parameter names and values are always case sensitive. So if you change anything, it will be not a well formed or valid one. The names are always in the lower case. For example, I just given in previous example as an author as a full letters and caps. But if it is not in a good practice, we can start or end with the element with the lower case, right? Not don't use an upper cases or first letter of caps. So you can start with the lower case itself. It will be a better understanding for the over the view that particular XML document, they can clearly understand. So the order of placing the parameters is also very important, right? For example, in the XML declaration, if you mention the version as a first one, version number is first attribute, and second one is an encoding, and third is in a standalone, right? So you need not to swap, we can't change the attribute orders, right? So here, obviously, we have to a value should be in the single or double quotes can be used. Either single or double quotes can be used. So there is no issues in that cases. And the XML declaration, just like each and every XML document to have a start and end tag like that. Not for the cases of XML declaration. I don't have the closing tags. So the XML, how does it so XML works? So here I need to give a simple one idea. So it is a predictable data format. What is that? XML work by providing the predictable data format. XML is strict on formatting. If the formatting is off, the program that process or display the encoding data will be written an error. So if the particular XML document considered to be a well formed, uh, that is conforming to the XML syntax, right? So you should follow the XML syntax. It should be read and understood by the XML parser. So this is the rules we need to follow it, right? The beginning and end of the element are identified by opening the closing tags with the other elements or either or plain data with them, right? So these are the rules for the XML. If it is followed by the XML document, then the particular XML document is a well formed. Move to the next slide. In order to define the structure of the XML document, we need a document type definition. So whenever you're going to create a XML document, the particular whatever the XML document inside the XML document, if you have that one or more elements, that should be an legal element, right? So how to make it as a legal element? We need to create a first structure for the data element XML document. So we need to define the structure for the XML document. For defining the structure of the XML document, we need a document type definition. With the help of document type definition, we can set of rules will be there. We need to should allow to us to specify our own set of elements and attributes. So DDT is just like in a grammar, okay, to indicate what tags are legal in XML document. So what are the tags are not legal, illegal, right? If, for example, in the DDT, if you mention the two elements in the XML document, particular XML document means the same two elements should be there in the DDT. So DDT is actually define the structure for the XML document, just like creating a schema, and according to that only we can insert the values. If we can't insert more values, right, in the tables, right? So just like that, if you create a DDT for the XML document, so the XML strictly need to follow the DDT rules. What is that? Rules is legal. Let's move to the next slide. So, XML namespace. What is XML namespace? Uh, we are exchanging the different data. Different type of applications. And through the internet, we are just exchanging the different data formats, right? So here, the same elements can be present in the one of the business-oriented applications. So one application can have that same element, same elements can be present in the another application also. So in order to avoid the element name conflict, we are just here the XML namespace or there is a method to avoid the element name conflict. The element names are in XML or defined by the developers often result in conflict when trying to mix the XML document from different application, I mean XML application. So in order to avoid that, we need to use a namespace. Here actually we have the XML NX attribute. It is a XML namespace attribute. We have to include that particular attribute in the very basic element, the parent element, and that for example, if you have that element name as a table, even the HTML also have that table element. Even the furniture applications also have the table element. In that cases, the table will have that name and width and length. In terms of HTML, the table it have that their child and table row and table data all. Okay, these two are different application. If they exchange or if they combine for some process, something they supposed to merge in the same application means, and that time should not be collapsed, right? For that purpose, we need to avoid such a consequence. We need to have the namespace, right? Go to the next slide. So in order solving the name conflict, we are using the prefix. Say for example, here I've shown this two, I mean, two different types of tables. One it belongs to the HTML table, another one belongs to the furniture. Okay, in the HTML tables, they have it is already the predefined tag which is in the HTML. In that we have the tr tag and td tag. Just like that, we have just created our own type of element with the help of XML document. It is in a user defined tag. It is an f table and have that three elements of child elements are there for the particular table with the name and width and length. So in order to separate these two type of elements, we have just included the prefix, the name prefix. The syntax for that is prefix colon element name, right? So this two are the different one. How you are going to differentiate this two means with the help of XML and X attribute. We'll look at that in the next slide. So when using the prefixes in XML, the namespace for the prefix must be defined. Namespace can be defined by the attribute XML NX, extensible markup language namespace. This attribute should be always in the start tag of an element. Suppose the particular element is, uh, if you think it is we need, it is will occur name conflict, and that time you can use this XML NX. So here the XML NX attributes we are just going to include in the starting tag. The syntax for the XML NX is XML NX colon prefix equal to URI. For example, if it is belongs to the HTML family, we have to mention as a www.w3.org followed by the path expression of tr HTML4. If it is it is a part of the furniture means, we have to follow the particular the websites of or a particular URL in order to navigate. It is in a separate application. I mean, furniture of category of application. That we have just mentioned as a HTTP colon www.w3schools.com slash furniture. I love you can mention as a pepperfry.com furniture category. Same like the different type of URI can be mentioned. So what the purpose is, XML will if you define the XML and next attribute in the start tag, then we can avoid the naming conflict. So here I just given the table element, the element of the table. I just include the syntax of XML NX colon H. H is a prefix for this particular element. Here it is a this is a proper syntax is prefix colon element and XML NX colon prefix equal to URI, right? So it should be followed by their child elements and what are the sub elements are there in the particular element. Everything to be followed with the prefix colon element. Even for the start tag and end tag should followed by the prefix colon element. Okay. For example, here I just given the h colon table at start tag and end with the h colon table. Okay. So like that in tr and td everything I just started with the prefix colon table. So in order to avoid the naming conflict, we have to follow these rules, right? Move to the next slide. Uh, right. So we need to know about the XML schema too, right? What is XML schema? So we are just already given the legal elements to be must be in the XML document. For defining the structure of the document, we are just given the document type definition. So in order to describe the structure of the XML document, what type of element data should be there, what content should be in the particular element, in order to make that one, we have to use the XML schema, right? Just like we are creating a database schema, for if you will create a table, while creating the table in the database, we will give the each and every field of particular data type. For example, if you're creating any employee data, you have the employee name, employee age, and employee salary. Then name should have that string data type and varchar, and age should have that number integer data type. Like that, in the XML also we can define the data type in order to make the particular content of the element should be in the strictly to follow the particular structure of the data, right? I mean, here I just describe the structure of the XML document with the help of XML schema definition, right? Move to the next slide. So, what is XML schema? What is XML schema? It is very simple. It is a purpose of database schema. It serves same purpose as a database schema. Schemas here we are going to written in the XML. It has a set of predefined simple types, just like a string, integer, and float or decimal. Here we have the predefined simple type, say for example, string and integer. It is allowed you us to create a user-defined complex type. The purpose is we are just going to describe the structure of XML document, just like a document definition, but in the here the XML document with correct syntax we call as a well form. But in the cases of XML document, if you want to validate against the XML schema, both well formed and valid should be the valid. Okay, so here the XML schema it allows the creation of a user-defined complex type. So how are you going to make it as a valid document? The XML document should be validate against an XML schema is both well formed and valid. In terms of only the valid means it means this, if the correct syntax is the XML document followed means we can say is in a well formed. XML document, if you say both well formed and valid, then you should be follow the XML schema, right? So XML schema is better we can say is an alternative to the document type definition, right? Move to the next slide. So here we have the right hand side we have is an XML schema document. XML.sst will be stored as this particular file. The left hand side is an XML document. It will be stored as a file name as a .xml, right? Here the XML prefix is XSS colon schema. So this particular one is XML schemas are written in XML. It's extensible to the addition one. I mean, the schemas are extensible to the addition. It actually support the data types. Here I just mean for the name, the type is string, and age is integer, and email is string, right? So it also support the namespace also. For that purpose only, we just mentioned as access colon schema. Access is prefix in order to avoid the naming conflict. For example, some other applications are using the same schema element means in order to differentiate this type, this element is belongs to the XML schema. For that purpose only, we are using the XML schema use supporting the namespaces also. So not only supporting the namespace, it's also support the data types. So here in the XML document, we have the three elements. One is name, age, and email. The name element of the XML document should contain only the string data type. For that purpose, we are in the XML schema. We are writing the code XSS colon attribute. It is actually the student author ID. I mean, ID is attribute for the student element. In terms of normal element, we have to mention the XS colon element. If it is an attribute, for that purpose, we have to mention what type of value should be stored in that particular one. Means for that purpose, we have just need to mention the access colon attribute. Name is the XML document element name, and type is the particular element should contain only the string type of data. So in these cases, the student element would have the ID attribute. That ID attribute only contain the string type of values. I mean, here I just mentioned as a P1. Same like that, the name element must contain the string attribute, string data type, and age element should have the integer data type, and email also should have the string data type. So actually, it is in a complex type of. We have the two types, so complex type and simplest type. This particular one is in a complex type. We have the different. I mean, schema should be why you use an XML schema. It's very simple. We have just XML files should carries the description of its own format. Independent groups of people can agree on the standard of for interchanging the data, right? Here we are just using the data type means it will be easy to describe the document content. For example, name means the XML element should contain only the name of string type of content. Okay, if it is an age means it should contain only the numbers of type of content. Okay, it is easier to define the restriction on the data. So this type of element should have only this type of content, right? So we can also define the restriction on data. Not only that, it is easier to validate the correctness of data, and not only that, it is easier to convert the data between the different data types, right? So the XML schema uses the XML syntax. You don't have to know about the new languages. It is very simple. You can create the XML schema. So you can manipulate your XML schema with the XML document object model also, right? So you can transform your schema with accessibility also. Okay, that's all about the XML schema, and I just covered brief introduction about the XML technologies and what is XML, and how it is used in the I mean in the internet for the different applications. How is it? It is in a very simple data format. To in order to exchange the data between the different application, we need to follow some standard format. For that purpose only, we created this XML. It is very simple. We are just describing the data. Okay. So if we need to compare this HTML, I mean XML should compare with the HTML because the HTML is in a predefined tag, but in the cases of XML, it is in a user-defined tag. In the XML, we are just separating the content and the presentation, right? So thank you.